Hello, this is the fourth video in how to make a fighting fantasy game in AGS. So we're going to do something a bit more fun in this video. We're going to create a brand new script that's going to handle our dice rolling. So the first thing we want to do is, if we go into global variables, and I'm going to right click and add a new variable. I'm going to call this D6 1, because we may need to roll multiple six-sided dice, and that's just an integer, and we're going to start it at 0 at default, and we'll just create a new one, D6 2, and that will also be default at 0. So now we have two six-sided dice that we can store value in. So let's right click on this on the script file, and we'll start a new script. I'm going to call this Dice Manager. It is important to add that, say we create a function now. I'm going to say function roll d6. So that is our function. So it is important to add, say we have another script called Combat Manager that uses this roll d6 function. If it's above this Dice Manager script, the system won't know that this function exists, because it reads the scripts from top down to the bottom like a cascade. So you need to make sure that anything that uses any functions from the Dice Manager should be below the Dice Manager script, so they get loaded in. So we're going to do just a simple random generation call. So I'm going to create an integer, and then I'm going to call it ran, short for random, and ran equal random, and it's an array of numbers. So we're going to say 5. The reason for that is 0 is a number. So for our six-sided dice, it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that would be our six numbers. So if ran equals 0, so if we rolled 1 essentially, but 0 in this case, then we're gonna d6. We're gonna store that number d6 1 equals 1. And then we'll do the same here. So if ran equals 1, d6 1 equals 2. If ran equals 3, 2, sorry, d6 1 equals 3. If ran equals 3, d6 1 equals 4. If ran, these should be double equals, by the way, because we're comparing the number. So 3, so it's 4 d6 underscore 1. We're using a single equals because we're writing that result. So there we go. So 5 if ran equals 5, the final number d6 underscore 1 equals 6. So there we have it. There's our simple dice roller. Now I'm going to copy all this again, because there may be some instances where we need to roll our 2 dice. So we're going to have roll 2 d6, and I'm going to go d6 2, do, it's just going to autofill for me. 2, 2, 2, 2. And there we have it. So if I run the game, it would help if I'd had that right. Yeah, because I copied and pasted both of these things. So there we have it. So at the moment we can't do anything, even though we've created that function. Those functions we can't use them because they're kind of stuck in this script. So we need to export them out. So we need to double click on the header of the script. We'll do import function, and it's just the same function name as this. So it's roll d6 with a semicolon. And we'll do the same for the next one. Import function roll 2d6. And we can just do a quick compile and run just to make sure everything's fine. So, just to prove that that's all working fine, if I go into my global script, I'll just pick anything really. This will do. So if I do roll, and there we have our variables there. So we can call that, and it will run that function that we've just created. Perfect. And we'll be using that very soon. But one last thing before we continue. Before we roll our dice, we need to make sure that the stored number is always set back to 0, because we don't want to be adding any additional numbers to what's already stored. So I'm just going to say d6 underscore 1. We're going to set that to 0. So it's going to be set to 0 before we make the roll. We'll do the same here. So d6 2 equals 0. So there can be absolutely no mistakes that when we roll this dice, we know that the starting value will always be 0, and we'll be setting the number. And I think that is a nice little short video, and we'll hopefully be using these functions very soon. Thanks for watching.